The people of Portugal go to the polls on Sunday to elect a new president. They'll face a choice of a record 11 candidates in total. It means no one person is likely to win the 50% of the vote needed. So a second round runoff looks very likely. Who are the main candidates vying to be president? And why is this election so significant? Hello and welcome to Roundtable. I'm Enda Brady. Now, after 3 general elections in 3 years, you'd think the Portuguese would have had enough of voting, but they head to the polls on Sunday to elect a new president. It's a largely figurehead role, though it does carry the power of veto. Candidates from the country's 2 main parties are among the front runners. So too is the far-right leader Enda Ventura from the anti-immigration Chega party.
For decades, Portugal's presidency has been held by members of centrist mainstream parties. But 2 of the 11 candidates fighting this week's elections have a real chance at putting an end to that. Enda Ventura of the far-right Chega party and the independent former Navy Admiral Henrique Gueva y Melo, who are taking on the country's establishment parties. The outgoing president, Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa, is coming to the end of his 3-term limit after holding the largely ceremonial post since 2016. But Portugal's politics, like many European countries, have been shifting rightward, meaning presidential powers like dissolving parliament will put whoever is elected in the spotlight. The ruling centre-right party have put up veteran former minister Luis Marques Mendes, with the socialists pinning their hopes on an equally experienced former minister, Antonio José Seguro. But populist firebrand Ventura, who has taken his Chega party from obscurity to become the main opposition in just a few years, is hoping to take on these 2 heavyweights for the highest office in the land.
Our political system, our social system, our economic system needs a fist slammed on the table. We have to shake up the system, and what we do to shake up the system is win elections, because on the 18th, when 8 p.m. comes, they will feel this jolt to the system that we delivered against corruption, against illegal immigration, for people's safety, against poverty, for a decent country. They will feel this jolt on the 18th.
Ventura isn't alone in taking swipes at the country's centrist political class. Gueva y Melo, the former admiral, is running as what he calls the only truly independent candidate.
We need to have a clear message for everyone. We are a country that welcomes people well. We are a country that knows how to receive and take people in. We are a country that has always liked everyone. But those who do not follow our rules, those who do not respect our values, have only one path: to leave and return to their country and to wherever they came from.
In a crowded field of 11 candidates, it's highly likely that the vote will go to a second runoff in February. What's harder to predict is who will make the final 2. Portugal transitioned to democracy 50 years ago after decades of a right-wing dictatorship, and has since followed a largely centrist European path of development. But trust in the establishment parties has collapsed, meaning an outsider has every chance of moving into this pink presidential palace.
Well, let's bring in our guests. Joining me from Lisbon in Portugal, we have João Pedro Louro. He is an MP from the Social Democratic Youth Party. Filipa Alves Raimundo, she is Assistant Professor at the Department of Political Science and Public Policy. That's at the University Institute of Lisbon. And Hugo Ferrinho Lopes, he is Invited Assistant Professor at the University Institute of Lisbon. You're all very welcome to this roundtable. João, I'll come to you first. You've had 3 general elections in 3 years and now another vote on Sunday. The people of Portugal must be a little bit tired of going to the ballot box, are they?
Hello, everyone, and thanks for having me. In fact, it is a bit unusual to have another election in such a short period of time So yes, there is some voter fatigue, and that is precisely why people, I think, want stability. But of course, 3 elections in 3 years is demanding for any democracy. But presidential elections are different. People are not choosing a government; they are choosing the head of state. And Portuguese voters know very well how to distinguish between different types of elections. So even with some fatigue, there is still a strong interest in these elections.
Philippa, to you, what's going through people's minds as they will vote on Sunday in Portugal? What are the issues here?
Well, it's important to know that we have a semi presidential system, meaning that we're voting for the president who is exclusively the head of state and not the head of government. So people know, or we expect them to know, that they are voting for someone who has some considerable powers, but is not going to govern the country. So there may be some effect of policy preferences and of people's preferences in terms of government, because we have so many candidates this year and almost each party has nominated their own candidate, that there may be that effect. But people are expected to know that for a president, you're voting for someone who's there to represent the country, but also to make sure that institutions are performing well and to offer some sort of help, offer some sort of stability. And I guess to some extent, that's also what they're looking for.
Thanks, Philippa. Hugo, to you. So this is a figurehead role, pretty much. Head of state, but no massive power, though the president does have the power of veto.
Yes, thanks for having me. Yes, the president is a figurehead, but with teeth. The president is not a day-to-day executive, but he can shape the outcomes through vetoes, referrals, dissolving the parliament, for example, after consultation. So what I'm saying is that the president is not the prime minister, is a referee. Voters are voting for a referee, but this referee matters the most when the game is messy. And the politics have been a bit messy in recent years in Portugal. The government does not have a majority of seats in parliament, and we have had government instability for quite some time since 22. So the role of the president has become increasingly important in recent years. This to say that people don't notice the presidency until politics break. And this is especially important in a context of electoral fatigue, as has been said previously, and of rising costs of living, a crisis in the housing sector, in the public services, especially health, for example, and with rising salience of immigration issues.
So, Zhao, to you, 11 candidates on the ballot paper on Sunday. It's quite a crowded field. For one person to win in the first round, they need 50% of the vote. It's not likely to happen. Why are so many people wanting the presidency?
From my perspective, there are several reasons. First, the presidency is seen as a space open to very different profiles, from party figures to independents. Second, the political system is more fragmented, and many candidates believe there is no dominant figure, which of course creates an opportunity. And finally, the truth is, some candidates are not really expecting to win, but want visibility, influence the debate, or prepare future political moves.
Thank you. Philippa, to you, when we look at the 11 names on the list, anyone who follows the rise of the right in European politics, there's one name that jumps out, and it's that of the Chega leader, Ventura. I see he's polling 18%. Is he in with a serious chance of becoming the next president of Portugal?
I wouldn't say so. Right now, the polls are showing that this election is being very competitive. We have 3 to 5 candidates among those 11 you mentioned that may very possibly go to the second round. And the differences between the candidates are in the margins of error, meaning that it's really hard to tell who is more likely amongst those five to be in the second round. So of course, the polls are showing that his results are consistent. That the results he got, or the party got, in the last legislative elections are still he's still capitalizing, but he's very close to the other candidates. So some polls have shown that he's the first. He may be the winner of the first round, but due to the difference between those 3 to 5 candidates, it's really hard to tell. One thing that the polls do show, or at least they suggest, is that if he goes into the second round, then he has almost no possibility of winning, according to the polls, in the second round due to negative partisanship. So people will reject his name. Those who do not support his party will automatically vote for whatever other candidate goes into the second round.
So, Hugo, my question to you is, why is the leader of Chega doing this? Why is he contesting the presidency? Is this a bit of a power trip, an ego boost?
I think this is a simple strategy to build his party growth, to increase his influence throughout the country. And also, I should remind everyone that some months ago, André Ventura tried to endorse Henrique Gouveia Melo as a candidate. So he was not to be candidate for this election. He became candidate in the absence of figures for the party to candidate for this position. So this is more like a partisan strategy than a personal ambition. As Filipe said, he himself knows that the chances of winning in a second round are very low. So this is, despite being an unusually wide open election, this feels more like a first round audition, and the real election is the runoff, the second round. So, but on the other hand, this isn't a two-horse race between the two main parties anymore. This is, like Filipe said, more like a 5-lane motorway, where we have 3 to 5 candidates competing for the first place in the first round. If André Ventura gets into the second round, which is likely, but still, as Filipe said, within the margin of error, then he is likely to lose in the second round for whoever competes with him. So the runoff is where Ventura hits the ceiling. But even that can be a win for the radical right, because he can say that for the first time, Chega himself, André Ventura, won an election.
João, to you, Portuguese politics has been dominated by 2 parties for half a century. Your party, the Socialist Democratic Party, and also on the left then, the Socialist Party. So the 2 leaders, Luis Marques Mendes, he's polling at 16%, your guy, and the other leader, Antonio José Seguro, polling at 10%. Do you see this election being dominated by these 2 big beasts of mainstream Portuguese politics?
Well, I think Luís Marques Mendes and António José Seguro are certainly 2 of the candidates who have a real chance of reaching the second round, because they represent the 2 main traditional political camps in Portugal, and both have solid name recognition. But this is a very open and fragmented election, so they are not the only ones in the race for the top 2, of course.
Philippa, talking of other names on the list, there's one that jumps out as quite an interesting character. Henrique Gouveia Melo. He is a former Navy admiral. He was in charge of overseeing the COVID vaccine rollout in your country. He's polling very high, isn't he? 18%. Why is he so popular?
He is indeed. And precisely his role during the COVID crisis was what triggered his candidacy. He showed up as a strong man, and we know that a percentage of citizens like the idea of having a strong man who was able to deal with the mess around the vaccines, and I guess good share of voters like that profile. And then he got support from important people from the two mainstream parties, which helped keep his candidacy. But at the beginning, many people were saying that he was a likely candidate to win the election. And right now, it's something that we can no longer say, since the other candidates have declared themselves as their opponents. And right now, the polls are showing that he has as much likelihood as moving into the second round as those others we've already mentioned, being supported by the two mainstream parties, so the left wing, center left wing, and then right wing, and Ventura and the leader or the former leader of a liberal party. So right now he's no longer that it's no longer that likely that he will win the election as some months ago some people were arguing.
Hugo, do you think a vote for him is a vote against the mainstream politics in Portugal in recent years? That some people would see this guy as someone who has served your country very, very significantly during a crisis. He's not a politician. Do you think a vote for him is a vote against all the other parties?
Only in part. Also, he also has a strong figure of leadership, which he also consolidated during Portugal's COVID-19 vaccination rollout. So he attracts voters who want an out-party figure, yes, who looks above politics also, but also people who look for a strong leader and do not vote for André Ventura. And as it has been said, he was leading the polls by a large margin some months ago, but recent polling data suggests that he slipped during the debates, which is quite typical when an outsider brand gets tested under scrutiny during the television debates. Yet I would say also I should stress that if he makes into the runoff, it's a verdict not only on party fatigue but also on ideology, because he has a blurred ideological brand. He presents himself as a candidate of the center, moderate candidate between the center left and the center right, and therefore a non-ideological candidate. So if voters decide to pass him to the second round, it's, as I said, not only a signal of party fatigue, but also about ideology.
Xiao, I'm curious about how you see a candidate like Gouveia e Melo, who is not a politician yet is clearly gaining traction with the Portuguese public.
Yes, I'm not really worried, but I think it's challenging because he was seen as competent, decisive, and independent from political parties. Many voters viewed him as an outsider with credibility, especially because of his public service record. However, he is running a very negative campaign focused mainly on personal attacks, which many associate with the worst side of politics. So I believe that as a result, some voters are changing their minds about him.
Thanks, Xiao. Philippa, just come in on that yourself. Do you think he's running a negative campaign?
Oh, he's certainly in the last few days targeted the one of the candidates in particular, using that strategy. He's not the only one, but yes, he has used that strategy lately with results that we don't know yet. What are they going to be? We understand from the polls that this may be having a negative effect, but it's really hard to tell whether it may have a negative effect on his campaign, both on his campaign and the campaign of the opponent whom he's targeting, which is particularly the campaign supported by the Social Democratic Party. But his ability to win this election, I think, is not anything close to what some months ago we might think. And this has already been said by Ugo in the last few weeks due to his difficulty in managing the debates and keeping up with a consistent discourse. I think the likelihood that he will have a strong result has diminished, and that the voters seem to be leaning more towards party figures from the right mainly, and one possibly from the center left.
Hugo, to you, just on that point, the public don't like it when an election gets negative, when people attack other candidates, and it kind of is seen as, very, very poor form and behavior. The public really don't like that.
Yes, I'm sure the people don't like that, but it also opens space for other contenders to use that strategy of others to position themselves as moderate, stable candidates who are campaigning for proposals for to clarify voters about their positions and not to attack other candidates. What I'm trying to say is that, for example, in the last debate with every candidate, kind of negative campaigning and negative partisanship between Henrique Gouveia Melo and Luís Marques Mendes created an opportunity, a fertile ground for example, other candidates saying, I'm not here to play this game. I'm not here to only attack my contenders. I'm here to present my candidacy to the people and my proposals. This is what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm committed to. And therefore, setting a distance from the other candidates to themselves. This opens a space, which is an opportunity for other candidates to leverage, and that has been seen in the last debates specifically. So I will just finish saying that the real question popping up now in the semi-presidential Portuguese regime is who can steady the ship. This is the question popping on the voters' mind. After years of instability, people may be looking for someone who can steady the ship in the coming years.
Thanks, Hugo. João, that question to you, who can steady the ship? I'm guessing you're going to say your man, Marques Mendes.
I'm a supporter of Luís Marques Mendes because I believe that is the most experienced and best prepared candidate. He understands the constitution, respects the limits of the presidency, and has a strong institutional background. And in a polarized environment, I believe that he offers calm, predictability, and stability, and I think it's really important in the presidency.
Thank you, Philippa. Just as we finish the conversation, give us your prediction. Then, who do you think will be in the runoff? Pick two candidates for us.
That's something really hard to do at the moment. As we mentioned before, there are 3 to 5 candidates who are very similarly likely to go into the second round. So it's really hard to say. It's a battle between two charismatic figures on the right. Two people who have been supported by the two mainstream parties, the center left and the center right, and the Navy officer who we already talked about, who is not associated with any political party, and any of them has chances of going into the second round. As we already mentioned, the only thing that the polls have been showing consistently is this inability of Ventura to win the second round. That's the only thing we all can say with some level of certainty, because that's what the polls have been consistently saying. All the rest is open, so I wouldn't be able to say who is more likely to even to go into the second round, honestly, because it's really, really tight at the moment.
Philippa, Hugo, and João, thank you all so much for making sense of it for us. Obrigado. Remember, you can see more discussion and debate on our YouTube channel. Search for Roundtable TRT World. But for now, from me, Enda Brady, and all the team here, goodbye, and thank you for watching.